I got the Platinum Trophy in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and this is my journey. 145 hours, 61 trophies, and a whole lot of blood, sweat, tears, and a small hint of cheese. This was my 100th Platinum, and honestly, I'm glad this was that landmark. I was not only a huge Final Fantasy VII fan, but just the sheer difficulty of this Platinum. There's a reason its average is 150 to 200 hours long. For those who don't know, Rebirth is part 2 of a remake trilogy of games based on the original Final Fantasy VII from 1997, with Remake Part 1 releasing in April 2020, Rebirth February of this year 2024, and the as of yet untitled Part 3 to release sometime in the future, my prediction being around 2027 to tie in with the original game's 30th anniversary. Viewer discretion advised, this video will contain spoilers, thoughts on the game and the gameplay, both the good and the bad, along with my predictions for what is going on in this game and the future of Final Fantasy VII. But that's enough of the intro. I'm Zach, and this is how I platinumed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The first thing I need to do is beat the main story. This will be one of 2 playthroughs I'm going to have to do, the second being on hard difficulty. Rebirth kicks off immediately after Remake left off. If you were to play them back to back, it would be seamless. Cloud, Tifa, Barret, Aerith and Red 13 have just escaped Midgar after defeating Sephiroth along with the Whisper's Arbiter of Fate, and have set off on their adventure into the wide open world to stop him from casting Meteor and destroying the planet. Your classic underdog group of misfits versus the evil god wannabe in search of world domination story.
I'm waiting, Cloud.
We then get a glimpse into the alternate timeline at the end of Remake, where Zack is alive and... Wait, what? Barrett's dead? Tifa's dead? Red 13? What the hell is going on? Wait, we're starting the game as Zack? This took me completely by surprise. I am a Zack stan through and through. He is the man, and I have been thirsty for answers on what's going on with him for 4 years now. We fight our way through to where Aerith and Red's chopper has gone down. Zack saves Aerith and... is she dead? What the hell is going on? None of this will be answered for some time, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you instantly build intrigue into a nearly 3-decade-old story. We then join the main party back in our timeline in the town of Karn, where Cloud tells us more about both Sephiroth and his past. If you've played the original Final Fantasy VII, this, like much of the main story, is all going to sound very familiar. Rebirth, much like Remake did 4 years ago, follows the original story very faithfully, but expands on it, and the changes it makes are sometimes subtle, sometimes not so much, but in my opinion, more often than not, they're welcome changes. Cloud explains that Sephiroth used to be a hero, and not just any hero, the hero, and the two of them were sent on a mission to investigate a Marco reactor at Cloud's hometown of Nibelheim. This opening section is basically just the tutorial chapter. We learn the basics and pick up a couple of trophies, staggering an enemy for the first time and winning your first battle. We're officially on the path to the Platinum, guys. This chapter isn't just a normal tutorial though, oh no. This is cooler than a normal tutorial because it lets you play as Sephiroth. And he is amazing to play as. It gives you an idea of why this guy was considered such a hero. He's so OP, it's not game breaking as being a tutorial, it still needs to show you the ropes, but in this chapter, I was playing as the one-winged angel every chance it gave me. During the mission, Sephiroth discovers the true nature of his origin. He doesn't know much about his life, only that his mother's name was Jenova. So when him and Cloud stumble upon containers filled with monsters all hooked up to a larger chamber labelled Jenova, with something clearly not human inside, he kinda loses it.
My mother's name was Jenova. Could it be that I was created the same way?
He locks himself away in the Shinra Manor, reading up all he can on Jenova.
Life form, Jenova.
And when he goes too far down the rabbit hole, he burns down the town, kills everyone in it. And that's when everything gets blank for Cloud. After the flashback, we get our first chapter trophy, and the next morning we go around town and are introduced to our first companion, Red 13. A very intentional move from the developers, as While Red 13 was in Remake, it wasn't until the very end of the game and he wasn't actually playable. So they start off this game letting the player know that everyone's favourite fiery lion dog thing is now yours to control.
It's got a backbone.
It's also here we're introduced to Queen's Blood, a new card game that, if I'm being honest, is the best and most addictive mini-game card game I've played since Gwent. We will be playing a lot of this in the future, and get another trophy for raising our Queen's Blood rank by beating the 3 available matches here in Calm. Before long, we're chased out of town by Shinra, and that's when we get our first look at the wide open world. It's truly massive, but it wouldn't be until the very end of the game that we'd all really understand just how big this open world is. Now that we're in the grasslands section of the open world though, we have to do what every completionist must do. Scour the lands and try to 100% the world as we go. We level up our first orb of materia, use our first synergy skill and ability, limit break, summon, exploit an enemy's weakness, max out our first weapons ability, and complete our first of many side quests. That's a lot of trophies out the way with right at the beginning, you might be thinking, but these ones will come naturally without trying. In fact, it would probably be harder to beat the game without getting some of these. There's plenty of other things to do in the map, like combat challenges, fixing chocobo stops, materia summon unlocks, intel scanning, proto-relic missions which keep giving us visions of a future major side quest in Gilgamesh, and everyone's favourite, climbing the obligatory video game towers to unlock more of the map. Yay! If you are a completionist and going for the plat as well, I'll tell you right now that there are certain things that can't be done right away. Yes, the majority of things can be done as you go, but as you can tell, there is a lot to do in this game, and as always, it's important not to let completion ruin a good time. Don't get bogged down and just do what you can while you go. Nothing is missable, and for completion, you will need to come back to every location at some point anyway, and all progress saves both backwards and forwards through chapter select upon story completion.
Boy, it's you.
After getting our first chocobo by helping out the local ranch, we make our way through the swamp, following the men in black robes as we believe they will lead us to Sephiroth, and eventually get our first boss fight against the Midgardsormr, a giant snake disguised as an island.
Get back here right now.
While it's not a hard fight, it does teach the player one thing. Boss fights in this game are very different from regular enemies. You can get by just spamming the attack button for most fights, but bosses? Nah. You're going to need to use your spells, your abilities, exploit their weaknesses, and especially on the subsequent hard mode fights. After we beat the boss, Cloud gets dragged down below and sees Sephiroth, who finally, after over 25 years, answers the question I've had since I was a child. How did Sephiroth do this? Oh, that's how we did it. And we have to fight this guy?
I knew he was strong.
After gushing over how powerful Sephiroth is, we get the Chapter 2 trophy and we head into the Mithril Mines, where the gang gets separated, and while Cloud, Aerith and Tifa have a pretty easy fight with the Turks, Rude and Elena, Barret and Red are literally in hell. Once the bosses are done with, the team reunite and make their way out of the mines, and the Chapter 3 trophy pops. Back in the open world area, we arrive at Junon. Before heading into the main town though, we work on completion of the area, doing the same busy work that we did in the grasslands and... Wait, what? Is that Fort Condor? I love Fort Condor. Seriously, I don't know why this game gets so much hate. Maybe it's because I'm a fan of tower defense games, maybe it's my love of the original, maybe it's the charming art style making the characters look like their 1997 counterparts. But Fort Condor is always a good time. It's not as easy as it was in the Integrate expansion for Remake, but it's not exactly hard. For the Platinum, I'd not only have to beat all 4 rounds for the Proto Relic, but those same 4 again on hard mode for another trophy down the line. We also find the first of 6 pieces of sheet music to play on piano. As I said in my demo review, I love this piano minigame, and I spent just as much time playing my favourite songs as I did the actual minigame songs. I'd have to get at least an A ranking in all of these, and with the exception of the song 2 Feet No Problem, I got all of them first try without any issue. Once all 6 tracks have been completed with an A rank, you get the Piano Virtuoso trophy and unlock one of 2 secret tracks to be played, the first being the classic Final Fantasy VII battle music. Moving back on with the main story, we reach Under Junon, and this is where we get our first real story deviation from the original game. You see, in the original, the drowned girl in Junon, that also had the worst CPR minigame ever made, I'm just saying, was just a girl named Priscilla, who, outside of getting Mr. Dolphin to get the gang to the upper city, served no real story purpose. But in Rebirth, the drowned girl is Yuffie, a character who was originally an optional party member in the main game. I've always had a love-hate relationship with Yuffie. On the one hand, Ninja's a badass, I love how her story expands on all of Wutai and that general part of the world, but on the other, she's just quite annoying, isn't she? And she was a real pain in the arse to recruit back when I first played this game as a kid. But Square did a great job fleshing her out in the Integrate expansion for Remake, and in Rebirth, she gets even more to do. She has much more character development and would eventually become a favourite of mine for my party. So, after defeating the Terror of the Deep and getting a trophy for rescuing a trapped teammate, we rescue Yuffie. She disappears for now on a mission to assassinate Shinra President Rufus Shinra, and we play a dolphin minigame to make our way to Upper Junon, get a glimpse of the Highwind, which I can't wait to see more of in Part 3, and disguise ourselves as soldiers so that we can take part in the parade and try to get closer to Rufus. We get an extra 2 trophies here. One for recruiting all 10 members of the Midgar 7th Infantry, which are pretty easy to find, but also has one of my now favourite cutscenes in not just this game, but any game, where we follow Rude to his secret bald man bar.
Rude, you mind?
This your first time? If you want to drink with us, you're gonna have to lose the helmets. No scout, no service.
Fun fact, Goose is bald, and when I first saw this, I sent him a clip, asked him how it felt to finally be represented in a video game, and that's when he told me,
Sack, next time I see you, I'm dropping you like Shinra dropped the Sector 7 plate.
The next trophy is for winning the President's Commendation, called Stealing the Show. To do this, we'd need to have previously recruited all 10 units of the 7th Infantry, have them lined up in a certain formation, and while we don't need to play perfectly, we need to be pretty damn close. You can afford 2, maybe 3 mistakes, but that's about it. It's not that difficult though, I'm making it sound harder than it is. While receiving our reward, Rufus informs us he wants a truce. This again is an interesting development. In the original game, Rufus and all of Shinra have no interest in making a truce with Cloud, the group, or Avalanche. It honestly could have made an interesting new subplot of not so much working together, but trying to stay out of each other's way with a mutual respect.
So I turn to you.
It's a deal.
However, the deal is cut short when Yuffie makes her assassination attempt.
Alright, Shinra. Time to pay.
Stop! Get down!
Get over here!
We make our escape with members of the 7th by our side and get another boss fight in the form of Roche. Roche was a new character introduced in Remake, and honestly, it's great to see him return here. Not just his design, but his character and over-the-top showmanship as a soldier who almost gets off on the spectacle.
Picture it. A duel to end all duels. First, the music. Let's not forget the lights. Actors, to your marks.
It really gels well with the Final Fantasy VII world, and the eccentric biker badass once again fails to disappoint and loves the drama just as much as the player. After beating him, we get the Chapter 4 trophy and make our way onto the Shinra 8 cruise ship, where we will be spending the entirety of the next chapter. And what do we spend the majority of this chapter doing? Playing Queen's Blood, baby! I swear, this card game is good enough to be a game entirely of its own. The tournament goes pretty well, the rounds are reasonably easy, but I've got a decent deck, as I've been beating every player I find as I go through the game so far. The only one in this tournament that gives me any real trouble is Red.
I went to show my hand. It.
Who's a surprisingly decent challenge, and after defeating him, I've won the Queen's Blood tournament and I get my next trophy. Later that night, the ship is attacked by monsters who begin possessing the black-robed men we've been following. We fight our way through to the bottom of the ship and find Sephiroth, where we get another boss battle with the Genova Emergent.
If it's an ass whooping you want, you're about to get that then some.
After defeating her, Sephiroth begins to sow doubt in Cloud's mind over Tifa.
Cloud, don't let her fool you.
Cloud shakes it off, and the Chapter 5 trophy is ours. We then arrive at Costa del Sol. In this chapter, we get our first glimpse into the variety of minigames we will have to master for the Platinum. There's Red 13 football games, a pirate shootout, a hidden Cactuar camera game, and some Queen's Blood puzzles. I don't do all of them as I want to push on in the story a bit, but I do enough to unlock beachwear for our party so we can hit the sand.
Cloud? Something wrong?
No, nothing. It's just hot. In the sun.
And it's there that we encounter Professor Hojo, who 27 years later is still being a total creep wearing his lab coat to the beach. He unleashes a robot octopus on us and tries to abduct the party.
Changed your mind,
And that's when Yuffie rejoins the story to save the day with the help of Johnny.
Behold! Justice is served!
Johnny will become your most hated character in any game before the end of this, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. Yuffie joins the party permanently, the Chapter 6 trophy pings, and we make our way towards Corel.
You still holding up okay?
Yeah, feeling great actually. Could do this all day. It's like someone's pulling me up.
You've become one with the mountain.
Say what?
Really? I did? Hey! Thanks for having me!
The hell are you doing, Red? Relax. It happens to all the climbers. If she passes out, I'll carry her.
Let's go!
After a long mountain climb, we once again get stopped by the Turks, who seem to also be helping the Black Robes find their way.
You go.
But they've already tussled with this muscle once, and they don't want this Buster Sword that's rated E for everybody, so they send their custom Valkyrie after us, but it's a robot, so a bit of lightning magic takes it down no problem. Then, after 30 hours, we finally cut back to Zack's timeline. Yeah, remember that was a thing in this game? Zack is in contact with Elmira, Aerith's adopted mother, who isn't too happy with how he's been taking care of her and Cloud.
And I can't leave her with you.
Of course you can. Just look at Cloud. I've been taking care of...
No, you haven't. Look at the state you've left her in. You didn't even wipe her face, for goodness sake.
So they take them back to their home in the slums, where we see all the flowers are dying, and there's a huge rift in the sky, which then cuts back to our timeline's clear blue sky, with Aerith staring up at it, thinking about her mother.
I wonder how my mom's doing back there.
Curious. We make our way down to the Corel reactor, where we are given another deviation in the story through the introduction of weapons.
The hell was that thing?
A weapon.
Weapons are basically defenders of the planet, legendary giant beasts that only awaken when the planet is in dire need. But this is way early compared to when they showed up in the original game. After moving on from the reactor, Cloud starts to get a bit of a headache and needs a lie down. So we take control of Yuffie to help open up a path to Corel, Barrett's hometown. We do some ninja swinging, fight Big Bird, adopt Chicken Little only to name him Cloud Jr.
It's Cloud, only cute.
That settles it. I hereby dub thee Cloud Jr.
Go on a minecart ride,
I hate you, Cloud! You're dead, you spiky-haired...
and finally reach Corel, but Barrett doesn't exactly receive a hero's welcome.
It is. The great Sir Wallace has graced us with his presence.
There. A hero's welcome.
Barrett then gives us more of his backstory and explains that he pushed the town for a Marker reactor, which eventually exploded, and when it did, Shinra killed the town populace to cover it up. Needless to say, being the most vocal one in favour of the reactor, well, it's clear to see why he's no longer welcome here. We get our trophy for finishing the chapter, and Barrett, not wanting to dwell on it too long, pushes us towards Final Fantasy's version of Disneyland, the Gold Saucer. But don't let the bright lights, the muscle men, and the Scottish cats fool you. If you're a completionist, this place will become your nightmare. We meet park director Dio and a Scottish cat named Kate Sif riding a fat Moogle. By the way, they're robots. They get us a room at the Haunted Mansion, and while everyone else is off having a good time, Cloud needs a lie down again.
Sorry, man. Feel like I failed you.
We get more insight into Zack's timeline here. Elmira is still taking care of Barrett's daughter, Marlene, who's coming to terms with not just her dad, but Tifa, Biggs, everyone she knows and loves, never coming back. Zack then makes her a promise to go and get Biggs, there and then, and man, as an absolute self-proclaimed Zack stan, it is so great seeing his charm shine through in this game. I loved his legacy from the first game, I loved his story in Crisis Core, and seeing him here being the hero he was born to be, doing what's right no matter how big or small, it just gets me, man. Zack is a true hero through and through, whether it's facing impossible odds to defend your friend, or helping out a kid that you've just met. Zack has always had and known what it takes to be a hero. But there's no time for emotion because we're at Disneyland, baby! We go on a date with whatever party member you have the highest relation with. For me, it was Aerith, and we get a tease of the completion hell that is to come in the future. There are so many minigames here. all of which I would have to eventually get the high score on. We got Chocobo Racing, 3D Brawlers, G-Bike Racing, Star Fox, more Queen's Blood puzzles, a battle arena, so much content and so little time. After our date, we were informed that a man with a gun for an arm has gone on a rampage, but knowing it can't be Barrett, we make a deal with park director Dio to find the real culprit and bring him back within 24 hours. We go below the Golden Saucer to what's described as the prison and get captured.
Welcome to Corel Prison, bitch.
A man named Gus then forces Cloud to win a chocobo race at the Gold Saucer if we want our friends to be freed and to be told where the real murderer is.
Hey, chill out, kiddo. We'll take excellent care of it.
I've put a lot of hours into Mario Kart over the years, so I make those chicken jockeys my bitches, free the team and get the intel on where the real murderer is. We find Barrett, he tells us,
I'm sorry, but I need to do this alone.
We then get a one-on-one boss fight between Barrett and the murderer, his old best friend, Dine, who was against the Marco reactor back in Corel, and who Barrett thought was dead. And Dine is Marlene's true father. Throughout the fight, Barrett tries to reason with Dine, and it's right here that I really have to give a special mention to Barrett's voice actor, John Eric Bentley. The entire cast do a phenomenal job in this game, but I honestly believe he's a step above the rest. The places he has to go in this chapter are intense, and he makes it all believable.
Then end it. Kill me. I can't live like this anymore. Marlene, she's alive. Just turned 4. She's in Midgar. All I had was guilt and regret, and the weight of it was too much. But Marlene gave me the strength to carry on. She nearly died that day. House was about to come down when I heard her crying. And ever since, she's been my reason to get up in the morning. You took my baby girl from me.
We beat Dine and he leaves us with these parting words.
You carry that guilt, that weight.
Grim. The last thing he will ever hear his best friend and the father of his daughter say to him. While that's going on, Shinra attack, led by Director Palmer, in honestly a pretty goofy mech suit. We take him out, and just when it looks like we're out of luck, Dio shows up with a new buggy for us. We make our getaway while Dio holds off the Turks and Shinra. We quickly catch up with Zack as he finds Biggs, and the Chapter 8 trophy pops. We continue exploring the Corel Desert, and Kate Sif joins the party proper. And we finish up what busy work we can in the Corel Desert, including a side quest we weren't able to finish until now from Chapter 6 for Johnny back in Costa del Sol. But more on that one later. Trust me, you're gonna hate it. It's now we arrive at Gongaga, and this place has been given a serious overhaul from the original game. The jungle is truly fun to explore, and not to mention a breath of fresh air and another testament to the variety in this game. We've had everything from swamps to the desert to tropical beaches and now a jungle. The game even has some fan service for Crisis Core by bringing Cisne into the mix as the leader of the Gongaga militia. For those that don't know, Cisne was a character from Crisis Core. She's a former Turk and a good friend of Zack's, who eventually actually left the Turks when their mission was to bring Zack in, not wanting to go against her friend.
Son, I've lost the target. That's how it is. So get away safely.
Now she helps lead and train the people of his home village and even looks after his parents. And it's a good thing she's looking after them because when Aerith and Cloud are asked about Zack, neither of them even remember him. After hearing a commotion in the distance, Cloud, Barrett, Red and Kate head off to the reactor, where the area is crawling with whispers and they are faced with Shinra, led by Director Scarlet this time, with a league of Marco-infused monsters by her side. After taking down the boss in the form of Monster Experiment H-1024, Scarlet appears in her mech suit from Intergrade and seemingly takes the boys out. We then cut to the girls on their way to the rescue. After fighting their way in, we have a boss fight with Scarlet, and this has probably been the first real challenge of a boss fight for me so far. You can destroy her arms, but she calls in new ones every time. As soon as you get used to the guns, she switches them out for fists, and vice versa. It's a challenge, but a nicely balanced one. We take her out, and that's when we get the biggest story deviation yet. Cloud starts to really lose his mind here, with Sephiroth whispering even more doubt in his ears about Tifa.
She has no scar.
You have no scar.
She's not
You're not
Tifa.
Tifa. You can't be. Those we hate. Those we love. Those we fear. Jenova would become anyone to fool her prey.
Cloud finally loses control. Convinced Tifa isn't real and is actually a Jenova copy, he tries to kill her. She falls into the pool of Mako below, and before she can swim to safety, she is swallowed by a weapon. Well, shit. Tifa then goes on a Pinocchio adventure with Monstro through the live stream, and goes through a scene piecing together her memories. A scene that will be very familiar to anyone that's played the original game, but also one we're not meant to get until much later in the story and for very different reasons. We also get a glimpse into not only how powerful the weapons are, but a reminder of how powerful Sephiroth is. There are white whispers that seem to be aiding the planet and black ones aiding Sephiroth. And when he sees the weapons coming towards him with Tifa inside its materia belly, he tries to kill it. Now, two things in this scene are very telling. First off, this moment here. This is the first time we have ever seen Sephiroth struggle, ever have to put any physical exertion into anything, which not only shows how strong the weapons are, but the fact these are literally legendary planet defenders, and there's still no match for him only emphasises his strength. The weapon then resurfaces and returns Tifa to the party. Her and Cloud have a heart-to-heart.
You saved me before. Now it's my turn.
And we make our way to the airstrip where an alleged pilot is waiting for us. It's here that we meet Sid Highwind, another party member. Sadly, not playable in this game though. Now, Sid is the only character you might consider to be suffering from character assassination in this game, but I kind of like what they've done with him. He's not the Sid from the original game, no way. Sid was a grumpy, broken, chain-smoking hard-ass with a dream of going to space that was taken away from him, but in Rebirth, he's more of the confident, cocky, swashbuckling pilot extraordinaire. It's a difficult thing to do, to change a character so drastically, but have it work, and I say props to them. My only question is, where is Rocket Town? You better give us a taste of his backstory and give us at least an entire chapter in Rocket Town in Part 3 square. Anyway, for a small fee, Sid agrees to fly us on the tiny Bronco to Red 13's home of Cosmo Canyon. We pay the fee, which also gives us the Chapter 9 trophy, and we're aboard the tiny Bronco. And not only that, we actually get to fly it. Kind of. I mean, it's not full-on free-roam flying, it's more like the car from Final Fantasy XV, but still, I'm flying the tiny Bronco, this is awesome! We land in Cosmo Canyon, one of my favourite areas from the original game, and man, the music here! whole soundtrack is brilliant, but the Cosmo Canyon theme has been masterfully recreated here. After arriving at the canyon, we also get an interesting character reveal.
Hey, guys! It's me! I'm back! Nanaki? I can't believe it. It really is you.
Red's voice. He's been putting on a show the whole time. He's never been this wise old man we thought he was. By his species age, he's still just a teenager. His name is also Nanaki, and he is destined to become a Watcher of the Veil and look after Cosmo Canyon. While the story beat is the same, the voice change really caught me off guard and took a hot minute for me to warm up to, as his voice up until now was just so badass.
I was to become a Watcher of the Veil like those before me, until I was taken by Shinra.
But the more we delved into his past and his character, the more I actually kind of liked the change. We learn more about the planet and the lifestream from Nanaki's grandpa, Bugenhagen, in one of the most incredibly rendered cutscenes I've ever seen. I mean, look at this! When we were first teased of a Final Fantasy VII Remake all those years ago, we dreamed of the idea that it might look maybe as good as Advent Children, and here we are, and it looks better! Square, why have you cooked so hard on this game? We carry on learning more about the world with Nanaki, who also informs us he's gonna leave the party. It's his job to follow in his parents' footsteps and defend his home. His parents who died defending the canyon against the Gi. A race of creatures not from the planet who attacked many years ago, and while his mother was brave and fought to her last breath, his father was a coward, and he ran away. Nanaki undertakes the trial with Barret to become a Watcher, and after fighting the new hardest boss in the game, Gin Attack, who, unlike the original game, doesn't instantly die if you use an X potion on him, but you can interrupt his spells and actions by using a Phoenix down on him. Nice touch, guys. Nice. Now, Gin Attack is tough. There's only 2 members in the party instead of your usual 3. He's resistant to everything, he summons ghosts to fill up the arena, and once you've dealt a certain amount of damage, he will cast Doom on you, which is essentially a timer to insta-death. If you can't kill him before that timer hits 0, then that's it. You lose. No questions. After defeating him, Bugenhagen reveals the truth to Nanaki about his father Seto, who actually stayed behind and fought off the Gi by himself, stopping them from even entering the village, fighting until he was eventually turned to stone from the Gi's poisoned arrows. Nanaki was told a lie, just so that he wouldn't go after Seto and follow him to his death. Bugenhagen then tells him that his mission is not over yet. He is to stay with Cloud and company and help them save the planet, telling him he's failed the trial and not to return until the planet is saved.
Are you up to the task, Nanaki?
You bet I am. After all. I am Nanaki, Watcher of Cosmo Canyon, and son of Seto, protector of our veil.
Just as we are getting ready to leave, the spirit of Gin Attack returns and takes us on a boat ride through the life stream. This was not in the original game at all, and I love what is coming next. But before that, we cut back to Zack's timeline to get some more information on what the hell is going on with his world. Now, it's still up for discussion and interpretation, but I feel like it's heavily implied that both Zack and Biggs are each from different timelines and have been brought here both from different points in their own world's timeline, which explains why Zack arrives at Midgar with his version of Cloud at the same time the party are leaving, and not a few months prior when Cloud originally arrived after the ending of Crisis Core, and Biggs being brought here from just before his death in Remake, explaining how he knows our Cloud and not the version Zack has just brought to Midgar. Again, it's all up to interpretation at this point, but my theory on this is that while there is a multiverse, only one version of a person can be alive in a timeline at any one point, which is why the gang all died at the beginning of the game in this timeline, because another Cloud was brought through from Zack's timeline. That's when their version of Cloud disappears, and without him, they were unable to beat Sephiroth on the bridge. But that's just my theory, and I'm sure we'll get a definitive answer in Part 3. Well, hopefully, unless they Kingdom Hearts it. Biggs wants to restart Avalanche but has no support. Zack gives a speech about how they both need to find their own purpose and that destiny doesn't have to be one way. Biggs goes off and says he'll visit, and Zack returns home to tell Marlene Biggs is alive, well, and comes to the conclusion that the wind that saved him and brought him here was Aerith. As Zack takes her hand, we cut back to our Aerith with her hand in the live stream, hinting that she can sense something is going on. We then get a huge exposition dump, and not only my favourite, but the biggest deviation from the story in this game so far, that was nowhere to be seen in the original game. The black materia was actually created by the Gi, and the Gi cannot die. Because they are not from the planet, they cannot return to it after they die, and so they are essentially stuck in purgatory. So they forged the black materia as a way of ending their eternal torment. They make the party promise they will return the black materia to them so that they can finally rest, which they play along with for now. This is a really interesting development here. The Gi were essentially non-existent in the original game, but now it's like a whole new third party has just been added into the mix, and shows that not everything is black and white in this story. Yes, we want the black materia so we can save the world, as we believe its only purpose is to summon Meteor and destroy the planet, but the Gi make it seem like there's more to it than that. They just want to be put to rest. It's not much to ask, but by doing so, are we then putting the planet and all other life in danger? There's room for Square to do something really cool with this in Part 3. To get the black materia, we need to head to the Temple of the Ancients. The problem is, we need something called the Keystone to get in, but Kate Sif believes he can find it if he can just get to a Shinra terminal, but the closest one is in Cloud and Tifa's hometown of Nibelheim. So now we head back to where this game started almost 60 hours ago at this point. We arrive at Nibelheim, land on that Chapter 10 trophy, make our way to Cloud and Tifa's hometown that burned down, and it's the exact same. Everything has been rebuilt. The exact same. Only now it's surrounded by the black-robed men who are all being treated for Marco poisoning. Kate Sif tries his luck at the terminal and we explore our old home. Everything seems pretty normal, until we go to the inn Cloud stayed at all those years ago, and he gets a vision of Zack. This is when Cloud starts to regain some of his memories, though maybe not entirely accurate.
Zack Fair. From Gungaga. Head over heels for Aerith. We fought together as soldiers. You were here with me 5 years ago. You came with me on the mission. Where are you? What happened to you?
We now need to get into the terminal in the basement of Shinra Manor and get a keycard. So the team split up, with Cloud, Tifa and Yuffie heading up Mount Nebel to get a keycard where we have a pretty easy boss fight, but Cloud starts to lose it more and more the further they go. Meanwhile, Kate, Barrett and Aerith make their way through the manor, and this is probably one of the more undercooked sections of the game. Kate Sif gets a lot of solo play here, and he's a fantastic support character, don't get me wrong, but as a solo character, he's not easy to master. I eventually got the hang of him, but he was still reasonably new here, and this fight against two adjudicators, it was probably the source of most of my deaths on my first playthrough. I'm not kidding. It takes a while to learn how to fight with him and make the most of his abilities. There's also a box throwing mechanic in this chapter that really doesn't control well, and you need to get good at it for the sake of a minigame linked trophy. The problem being, this chapter is your one chance to grab it, So if you don't make a save before this, you're going to have to play the whole chapter through again just for the sake of this poorly designed box throwing game.
Never again.
Eventually, the party meet up and we are introduced to Vincent Valentine, voiced expertly by leader of the Scout Regiment himself, Levi Ackerman. Kenny! I mean Matt Mercer. Vincent was another optional character from the OG game and the main character in the sequel Dirge of Cerberus. But like Yuffie, he's been woven into the story very naturally here. After a brief confrontation where he reveals he has history of Sephiroth himself, he gives us access to his terminal. But Cloud starts to lose it again and goes into a room he was not supposed to be in, which leads to the most badass and surprising boss battle in the game yet. Galleon Beast. Vincent's level 3 limit break from the original game. They made Vincent into a freaking boss fight, bro. How sick is that? While the fight isn't overly challenging, in fact after those two adjudicators it's nice to fight an actual boss battle, but the atmosphere this fight brings is incredible. His design, the music, it's like a Bloodborne boss but in a Final Fantasy game. After beating him down, Vincent goes back to his slumber and tells us to leave. With Kate Sith having now located the keystone to the Ancient's temple, we make our way back to Cid and the Tiny Bronco, but not before we cross paths again with Roche.
Sorry I'm so late to the party, my friend!
Now souped up through Hojo's experiments, his obsession with Cloud has pushed him to the edge and he wants to fight him.
My desire to see you has driven me on.
But even with Cloud not wanting to end him, Roche won't have it.
You okay?
I won't have your pity. This is a race, remember? Come on, Cloud, we're on the home stretch!
And after falling in battle, he gives a warning to Cloud.
There's no escaping the degradation, my friend.
You're biking with angels now, buddy. Before taking off for our next destination, Vincent joins the party, saying he has unfinished business with Sephiroth he will see through. Unfortunately, like Cid, he, again, isn't actually playable in this game, but hey, they have to save some stuff for Part 3. On our way to the Gold Saucer to get the keystone from Dio, we hit some technical issues and the Tiny Bronco is no more. But the game gives us the Chapter 11 trophy as an apology, and as it turns out, losing the Bronco is not a problem at all, because in Cid's own words...
Only one man has mastered the land, air, and sea. You're looking at it.
Now this boat, unlike the plane, we do have full control of. And it's here we get to see the true scale of the game I promised you at the beginning of this video. With the boat, you can go anywhere. And I mean anywhere. You can sail to any location in the world with 0 loading screens. And not only that, but we now have a full ocean to explore that has islands and a pirate's treasure to find. This game just doesn't stop giving you content, but there's even more! There are now even more side quests in every region, new difficulties have been added to half the minigames at Costa del Sol, the Gold Saucer, and more proto-relic challenges have been unlocked with optional increased difficulties that will be mandatory for the Platinum. It's very rare you get to say this, but this game just has too much content. Moving on, we head back to the saucer to see Dio has been challenged for control by our old foe Don Corneo from the first game. But Dio's in no condition to fight after saving us back in the desert, so we return the favour and step up as his champions. We head back to the hotel and get some shut-eye before the big fight. We then see back in Zack's timeline, while Zack is caring for Cloud, Marlene drops this bombshell on us.
Better this way.
What? Why?
Because of Cloud. He's still sick. She'll die if she wakes up.
Oh, you think? What makes you say that?
Promise not to tell? When she wakes up, a scary man is gonna kill her.
Huh?
Cloud tries to save her, but he doesn't make it in time. He almost does, but he doesn't. That's why you have to make Cloud better. If he's sick, he can't save Aerith.
Can you tell me what this scary man looked like? Please?
His hair was long. And gray.
What? I mean, what the hell is happening right now? How does Marlene know this? I mean, did Aerith tell her back when she could see the future? And why would she tell her? And why would she keep this a secret? With Zack and the player's worlds completely rocked, he goes to check on Biggs, who, as it turns out, has just gone on another suicide mission to Reactor 6, and what better time to cut back to Cloud and wake up. Oh, game! Why can't you just tell me what's going on? It's here we finish off our date from Chapter 8, and see the play Loveless, and this was absolutely fantastic. You get a literal introduction reminding you that Jessie was a thing in Remake, and then get to take part in the show yourself, and wow, it was just amazing. Maybe it's because I have a history in amateur dramatics myself, Pride and Prejudice, the complete works of William Shakespeare unabridged, holiday performer at local tourist sites, but I was blown away by the quality of this. To get the platinum, I'd have to get an S ranking on Loveless, which really wasn't difficult at all, but I'd need to do this with all 3 female companions, Aerith, Tifa and Yuffie, meaning I'd have to play through this section 3 times and get an S rank with each of them. But the neat thing is, they aren't just reskins, each character brings a piece of themselves to the role.
That was pretty good. Heroic even. High praise, coming from a princess. But don't let it go to your head.
An inspiring victory, truly. Proof that love indeed conquers all, is it not?
Thank you, Alfred, for saving our world and everyone in it. You are a true hero.
We then get to finish off on the Skywheel date we never got to back in Chapter 8. Now, while not required for the platinum, I would highly recommend going back to this with every character, as in Chapter Select you can choose who you will go on a date with in each chapter after beating the main game, or if you don't want to do that legwork, at least look it up online. They all add something to the story. Aerith's proves that she knows more than she's letting on, but is choosing to stay silent to Cloud and the rest of the gang. Barrett opens up to Cloud about his deceased wife, Myrna, and asks him bro to bro, who does he like? Yuffie reminisces about meeting Zack back in Crisis Core, but neither her nor Cloud know it's Zack that she's talking about. Nanaki has the most shocking reveal that him and Aerith could actually see the future in the last game. The Whispers not only took that ability away from them, but their memories of it. Tifa's is the most intimate, where you even share a kiss after a good manly handshake, and if you choose Cait Sith, you get a hilarious scene where it's a boys' night out with Cloud, Sid, Vincent and Cait, with Cait trying his best to give all of them an evening of wonder and the lads just not caring and quite literally falling to sleep of boredom.
To hell with you, you wee scunners! Barbarians! I provide entertainment in spades and all I get is crickets!
Can we go any faster? This is torture!
And how do you think I feel?
Cait, zip it.
Why are you taking his side? I'm the one trying to make this fun! Open the doors! Let me off of this thing!
We then go through the tournament as Dio's champions and an epic boss rush ensues, going through waves of goons, cactuars, donberries, until we finally have to fight the Don himself. And when you think it's over after beating him, the Turks show up in search of the Keystone and you have to take them on. And then Rufus Shinra shows up for a 1v1 bout with Cloud. This chapter is fantastic. It starts off magical and ends relentless, and there's a reason it might just be my favourite in the whole game. After beating Rufus and all is said and done, we're betrayed by Cait Sith, who steals the keystone and hands it over to the Turks.
I knew from the start it had to end this way, but it still stings. For a moment there, it felt like we were friends.
He's kicked out of the party. With Chapter 12's trophy Isles, we are there. We are in the end game. We head off to the Temple of the Ancients, are given a warning that this is the point of no return, and arrive at the temple. We fight some Shinra troopers, do some gravity puzzles, and fight the Red Dragon. Now, while I did enjoy this fight, it did have one of my least favourite mechanics in any game or boss fight. When the dragon covers the floor in lava, it is unavoidable. On Dynamic and Normal, this wasn't too much of an issue, but when I played this chapter on hard mode, if I didn't have a mana wall cast on the party and wasn't at full health, it was just a guaranteed death. I'm all up for challenging fights and needing to learn mechanics, but the whole lol get hit no matter what you do gimmick, it's never been a good idea in my opinion.
That's not happening!
After defeating the Red Dragon, the party gets separated, with each group taking on two different members of the Turks. Cloud, Barret and Tifa taking on Rude and Reno, and Aerith, Yuffie and Nanaki going against Elena and Sun. During Aerith's party's section, there's also a praying mechanic that shows Aerith accepting her role as the last Cetra, gaining more control over both her powers and the life stream, knowing that if she doesn't learn to pray properly, she won't be able to cast Holy and stop Meteor. Once the Turks are defeated and the party is reunited, they all have to go through their own trials to proceed. Everyone except for Cloud must relive the worst moments of their lives, and I won't lie, all of these were heartbreaking. Nanaki going through his capture from Shinra. Barret reliving the Coral disaster.
Wake up, baby. Wake up. Don't leave me. Not again.
Tifa, the Nibelheim incident. Yuffie, the loss of her partner, Sanon, from Intergrade.
I can always keep him from myself.
But Aerith's section was by far the worst.
What if we went on an adventure? An adventure? Huh? Hello? Go on.
This had me crying like a baby, man. I don't know if it was her beautiful theme music playing, the imagery of just a helpless child begging for help and nobody giving her the time of day.
And stay down, brat.
With her dying mother on the street. This scene absolutely broke me, man, and I have no shame in admitting that.
But you can't go. You can't.
But there's no time for tears. We have a planet to save. After learning more about the Cetra, Genova, the Gi, and the Black Materia, we have our next boss, Demon Gate. This guy was an absolute nightmare for me back in the original game, and he's no joke in Rebirth either. You feel claustrophobic, you feel like you could be crushed at any minute.
2 of them!
But he soon goes down after just a couple of attempts. With Demon Gate defeated, we finally get our hands on the Black Materia, and we get Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wait, what? What's happening?
And just when it looks like this might be it for the gang, Cait Sith arrives to sacrifice himself so the party can escape.
Just in the nick of time!
You double-crossing!
Hold that thought! Run! Well, there's still time! Leave the heavy lifting to me!
For real?
No need to fret about a bot like me! I wasn't even built to last! I wish I had this skip leg day!
And while it's a cool moment and the intention is clearly a noble sacrifice, we know he's a robot, so it's no surprise when Cait Sith 2 is waiting for us outside after we've escaped the temple. Cloud is now absolutely tapped. He's losing it and is obsessed with this Black Materia. He's like a spoilt kid that's had his phone taken away from him.
That's mine.
Fine, fetch.
And that's when Sephiroth shows himself to everyone and not just Cloud anymore. A completely mind-warped Cloud goes to give the Black Materia to Sephiroth and goes after Aerith, and this was creepy, man. The way Cloud talks here is intense as hell, and quite frankly it's scary seeing our hero be corrupted so much.
Aerith!
After snapping out of it, Sephiroth cuts them down, Cloud and Aerith fall into the abyss that is the Chapter 13 trophy, and Cloud wakes up, only not in his body, but the body of the Cloud in Zack's timeline, again linking to my theory that there can only be one in every timeline at a moment. The Cloud here is brain dead, so that's why he can wake up here and maintain all of his knowledge and memories from his timeline, the same way Zack can, as in this timeline, he's already dead. And while Aerith is here too, I'm pretty sure it's not our Aerith. They go on a date in a world that has accepted its fate. Meanwhile, following Zack, we get a glimpse of how the branching timelines work. It seems that every decision made has a timeline for every option, but with every outcome leading to the same fate. Zack always seems to end getting gunned down by Shinra wherever he goes.
The world's about to end anyway.
Except for the version that decides to go to Aerith's church, where he finally comes face to face with Sephiroth.
Sephiroth!
Who seems to push Zack into the world between worlds, which seems heavily inspired by Advent Children. And just like Dorothy once had to follow the yellow brick road to find her way home, Zack now has to follow the yellow flowers. Meanwhile, inside the church, Aerith is being ominous, saying things like,
Whatever happens, don't blame yourself.
And she gives Cloud her white materia before pushing him through a portal back to his own world. And as we fall, we see Sephiroth walking towards her, knowing full well what's about to happen to her. Back in our timeline, the party tell Cloud that Aerith left for the City of the Ancients to pray and stop Sephiroth. We fight our way through whispers to Aerith, and this is the moment we've been waiting for since Remake.
7 seconds till the end. Time enough for you, perhaps. But what will you do with it? Let's see.
Cloud fights off the mind control, compelling him to kill Aerith. Sephiroth comes down and...
No!
Wait. Did we do it? Did we save her? Oh my god, we did it. We actually did it. The mad lads at Square are doing it. I can't believe we... Hang on. Wait, what? Now again, it's up for debate what's happening here. But the way that I've interpreted this is whenever we see these rainbow lights, a new timeline is formed, but everyone's end has to be the same. Zack has to get gunned down by Shinra, and Aerith has to die by Sephiroth's hand. But Cloud is trying to force a reality where he saves the day and Aerith lives. But Aerith's death by Sephiroth's hand? It's a canon event. It has to happen. That's why the rainbow lights linger and don't burn off into a new timeline like we've seen before, but where the rest of the party see the truth plain as day. Cloud doesn't. He can't accept it and he won't. That's why when the next fight begins against Jenova Lifeklinger, everyone is enraged. The entire party starts out with their limit break meter full. Everyone except for Cloud, because he does not deal with trauma well, and he thinks he's saved her. We now start what will be the final boss fight of the main story, and it is without a doubt the most epic fight of the game. It is a 10-phase boss battle starting off with Jenova Lifeklinger, and just like the OG game from 1997, the boss theme music, that's the background music here. The main theme we the player are hearing is Aerith's theme. Music is a major part of the character's soul in Final Fantasy, and with her death fresh in ours and the party's minds, it's all we can really focus on. We can't help but think of what we've just lost, and much like in real life, sometimes there's just no time to grieve. Sometimes you lose a friend, a family member, a loved one, and you don't have time to process it, because that's life. Sometimes we just have to keep on going, keep pushing forward, keep fighting, because life goes on, and it stops for no one. That's what this fight taught me almost 30 years ago now, and with tears streaming down my face, I echo Barrett's words. I'll kill you! And soldier on. The cinematography here is outstanding. Fighting Jenova as a party of three, one by one being snatched away until only Cloud remains, and after breaking through phase 1 the music has stopped. Aerith's theme is no more, and Jenova takes over. We reunite with the party and fight her again, only for her to destroy the ground we stand on as a last resort. Now free falling through the air, we're attacking her 2 at a time.
Good to go, Nana-Kane.
Yeah, let's get this show on the road. Watch out, you guys!
You gotta admit, you're not the less than the other two, right? You can say that again. Real
until we finally crescendo at ground level for the kill with the final group. What a fight, man. What a fight! It's going to take a lot to beat that one. The White Whispers engulf us and we see Zack still running through the white void, but now he sees something. It's Cloud. And the moment he touches him, the unthinkable happens. Zack is transported to our world at the edge of reality, side by side with Cloud to fight Sephiroth. Holy shit, I feel like I am dreaming right now. This is the greatest thing I have ever seen. We fight Sephiroth as Cloud and Zack together. Before Sephiroth sends Zack back to the timeline he's spent the game in so far. The fight goes on with a phase of solo Cloud, the rest of the party, solo Zack, who says exactly what we've all been thinking for about 80 hours now.
What in the hell? going on?
And then for the penultimate phase, we get this moment.
Embrace your dreams. And whatever happens, protect your honor as a soldier.
Absolute chills, man. The never-ending fight finally reaches its final phase, where we get a surprise appearance. I don't believe this is our Aerith, or even one in Cloud's mind, but another travelling the multiverse, trying to put a stop to Sephiroth once and for all. Maybe it's the one that woke up in Zack's timeline, as Sephiroth even said.
This is where you've been hiding.
Plus, we never actually saw her get killed. If she can open up portals to different timelines for Cloud, maybe she did the same thing for herself. Maybe that's what makes Aerith special and such a threat to Sephiroth. As a Cetra, maybe she not only can travel the multiverse, but transfer her consciousness as well, explaining how our Aerith has been able to see shared memories and experiences from different timelines, and all but confirming it for me is this moment here.
I must admit, I underestimated you.
He isn't talking to Cloud right now. He's talking to Aerith. This is the final phase of the final boss, and Aerith, she is OP as hell here. You can unleash Infinity's End, arguably Cloud's most powerful ability, on Sephiroth's wing or Masamune when he's unleashing his heavy attacks in an attempt to pressure him and barely touch him. Aerith, on the other hand, her Sorcerer's Storm alone practically one-shots it. Where was this Aerith during the rest of the game? We beat Sephiroth and get a scene of Aerith finally saying goodbye to Cloud, which, again, is very reminiscent of Advent Children. We cut to the whole party mourning their loss. Everyone except for Cloud, who seems perfectly fine and still sees her. The final cutscene shows Sid, Barrett and Kate fixing up the tiny Bronco back into a plane, while Cloud still talks to his imaginary Aerith, though Nanaki also seems to be able to feel her presence. The white materia has again become clear, and Cloud somehow has the black materia.
The hell?
He puts it in his Buster Sword without telling anyone, they prepare to leave, and like that, the final chapter trophy pops and the main game has been completed. This story, this reimagining, it was everything I wanted. Not just as a Final Fantasy VII fan, but as a fan of games in general. The world is so rich in story, lore and content. Everything has been pushed and expanded to its full potential. The worst mini-games and side quests in this game are more fun and satisfying than most other games in general. The story, the graphics, the performance, voice acting, music, sound design, the sheer scale and amount of content on offer here. This isn't what just remakes should strive for. This is what games in general should be striving for. We aren't done on our hunt for the platinum though. Now we need to do some trophy cleanup, but first, I know that hard mode is going to be an absolute slog at points, and I don't want to end my time in this game on a bum note. So I decided to get that out of the way with before doing all of the mini-games, side quests and combat challenges and whatnot. I'm not going to repeat the story again, obviously. I've spent way too long doing that anyway, but I am going to highlight the 3 bosses that gave me the most trouble on my hard mode playthrough. First up, Midgardsormr. Yeah, the first main boss. This guy absolutely kicked my arse on hard mode. I finished my first playthrough and started hard mode at level 55 and got one shot every single time. So I went to grind to max level 70, which surprisingly took me no time at all on hard mode because of how much XP every single mob gives you. I just did the same combat trial over and over. It took me about half an hour at the most. It was easy. It's almost like the game is telling you, look, this is hard mode. XP means nothing. Be max level or you aren't ready. But even at max level, this guy was wrecking me. I had to be smart with what materia I used, regularly changing up every party member's setup to cater to what each boss needed, what spells I used due to the limited MP, and not only that, but not using spells at all, just saving them for the boss battles and nothing else. The game as a whole became much more strategy focused for me at this point. This was a learning curve. Second, Rufus Shinra. Now, I didn't struggle against him that bad on the first playthrough, but on hard mode, this guy is a monster! This fight requires patience. You can't just attack him because he counters everything. If you get hit, the time it takes for Cloud to get back up again is longer than the time it takes for him to reload, which is the only time you can actually attack him without being countered. To beat this fight, you need to master dodging and perfect guard, which most people would have gone the whole game up to this point without even trying to do or needing to. If you want to stand a chance against him, you're going to have to learn. And finally, it's a toss-up for me between the Red Dragon and final Genova Lifeklinger Sephiroth fight. The Red Dragon was a brick wall purely because of that lol get hit, the floor is made of lava move. I fought this guy so many times because he did this move over and over again, and sometimes I just wouldn't have enough MP for Mana Wall, or I'd have it cast but I wouldn't be on full health so wouldn't survive, and knowing I still had to fight all 4 Turks, 2 mini-bosses, and the Demon Gate in this chapter, I had to use as little MP as possible here. So many variables for what I thought was such an unfair move, but eventually I managed it. As for Genova Lifeklinger and Sephiroth, this was an interesting one because while neither were arguably that difficult, hell, I'd say neither fight is as hard as any of the ones I've already mentioned. It was the sheer length of the battle that does it. 10 phases and no real chance to change up your gear, except for when the game swaps from Genova to Sephiroth, and yeah, you get a checkpoint between each phase, but each phase requires something so different and puts you with different allies to the point you can't just have your standard, this is my free team build. You need to make sure that every party member is prepared with the right weapons, right materia, make sure they can exploit every possible weakness, and that every character can work with each other, as you don't exactly get a say in who you end up playing with in the party sections. After beating hard mode, I finish up what little world intel I had to do and finish off the side quests. Some of these I regretted not doing in the first playthrough after playing them because of just how much lore and story they offered you. Yeah, you've got ones that are just dumb fun, like the ultimate party animal, where you have a Shinra executive and he just wants to have a good time at the Gold Saucer and you've got to out-party him. But then there's others that richly expanded the world, like going to find this woman's cat in Nibelheim who turns out is actually Tifa's cat from when her and Cloud were growing up. Or Cisne and Gongaga asking you to get ingredients so that she can make a meal for Zack's parents. Or going to find old drained life springs for Bugenhagen and learning more about the planet. I don't think there was a single side quest that bored me or at least made me feel like I'd accomplished something and learned something new about the world when I was done. I also finished off all of the proto-relics, which constantly teased me of cutscenes of Gilgamesh, the swordsman of legend. And once I'd collected all of them, I unlocked Gilgamesh Island, where I'd have to best him in combat, but not before undergoing his trials. These consisted of the materia summon boss fights, but not just one summon, oh no, you had to fight 2 at a time, and while some of them weren't so bad, some were brutal. The Phoenix Kujata fight was particularly difficult as you can't even damage Phoenix until you've killed Kujata, and once you kill him for the first time, Phoenix brings him back from the dead, essentially meaning you have to kill 3 summons in one fight here. Once all summons are defeated, you fight Gilgamesh, who is easily one of the hardest fights in the game. He's fast, hits hard, has a ridiculous amount of health, has a vast array of weapons he will constantly switch up with, and will constantly buff himself while inflicting status effects on you. But man, what a fight he was. He's level 70, so you really do have to be maxed out on this guy, and the music, oh dude, the music! The guitar on his theme goes so hard, it gave me major Joe Satriani vibes, who's probably my favourite guitarist of all time. This boss theme is on my everyday playlist now, it's just that good. After beating him, we unlock the trophy and as a reward, get him as a summon. Theme song sadly not included. And now we get to the moment you've all been waiting for, Johnny. You see, that side quest we completed back along for Johnny, it sees you help fix up his hotel, and part of that is a trophy display. All the rewards, collectibles and achievements we've collected along the way are on display here. Really cool little feature, but to get the platinum, I would have to get all 88 of them, and to do this would require near enough 100% game completion. While I've already done around half of these at this point just playing the game normally, there was still a lot left to do. Are you ready? If I mention doing something twice, it's because there's a hard mode variant, so just double whatever my initial number to beat is and know that half of those are on hard mode. Okay, deep breath. To fill out Johnny's treasure trove, I would need to beat the training chocobo race, perfect score all 3 gliding challenges, high score 2 games of Frogger, ride the dolphin again, beat all 4 Fort Condor games twice, high score the June on Parade, win the Shinra 8 Queen's Blood tournament, high score 2 games of Pirates Rampage, beat 22 Costa del Sol Queen's Blood puzzles, high score football games with Nanaki twice, do sit-ups 3 times, high score G-Bike races twice, beat 5 3D Brawler matches, beat Sephiroth in 3D Brawler, high score Star Fox twice, win 20 chocobo races, beat 13 Gold Saucer Queen's Blood puzzles, beat 32 Battle Square combat challenges, S-Rank Loveless 3 times, high score Desert Rush twice, beat 6 Beast Battleground combat challenges, beat a secret 7th Beast Battleground combat challenge for a side quest, high score 4 games of Cactuar Crush twice, high score 4 games of Gears and Gambit twice, beat 8 Shinra Manor combat trials, beat all 67 of Chadleys VR combat simulators including the 6 brutal and 9 legendary challenges which can only be unlocked after beating the game on hard mode and defeating Gilgamesh, A rank all songs on piano, use photo mode at a unique location in every map, beat 30 Queen's Blood players in the open world including the Shadow Blood Queen, become the ultimate party animal, dig up 6 rabbit burrows, beat all 7 Moogle challenges, beat chapter 4 without any 7th infantry member dying, destroy 10 crates in the terrible Kate Sif box throwing minigame from chapter 11, buy 19 items at the Gold Saucer through Gold Saucer points, and finally take the perfect photo of Rufus Shinra's cardboard cutout in chapter 4. Did you get all of that? This challenge was ridiculous. I spent almost as much time working towards the remainder of these as I did playing the main story, and once every card game, every minigame, every hidden collectible was mine, all that was left were the combat trials of Chadley's VR simulator. Oh yeah, Chadley's back, and he's more annoying than ever, and has made himself an AI waifu named Mai, and he has more than twice the dialogue of any other character in this game. Yeah, you figure that one out. Now, Chadley's combat simulator isn't that bad. The majority of it can be done without much effort, but the brutal and legendary missions, they are no joke. They are some of the hardest thing I've ever done in a game ever, and this was my 100th platinum, so I know a thing or two about BS game challenges. The hardest of all the brutal challenges was without a doubt Rulers of the Outer World. It sees you take on the double summon fights from Gilgamesh Island again. Only, they're even harder now, and unlike on Gilgamesh Island, this is a boss rush trial, so if you die at any point you have to go all the way back to the beginning and try again. And then, after you've beat all 6 summons, 7 if you include when Phoenix resurrects Kajata, you have to fight Gilgamesh without his theme music! And then, you have to fight Sephiroth! But this Sephiroth is different from the one you've already fought in the main game, and he has an attack known as Shadowy Chains, which you can't dodge, requires a perfect block, and once he has all of your party members chained, will octo-slash all of you at the same time, which on certain party members is a guaranteed one-shot if you haven't got a mana wall or barrier spell on them. This fight broke me. I kid you not, I spent an entire 2 days doing nothing but this one fight over and over again. I was determined to beat it my way, with legit combat, but after seeing this screen for the 100th time, I couldn't take it anymore. And so, I looked up a guide. I know, I'm ashamed of myself too. I'll go back and do it my way someday, but for the sake of getting this platinum done and my sanity, this was the only way. Beyond huge shout out to the YouTuber Optinoon, whose Brumal Form Infinite MP Aerith build made this challenge an absolute cakewalk. Oh, fucking finally! I never have to do that again, and I never will. Once you beat the brutal challenges, we unlock Gotterdammerung. Yeah, try pronouncing that one. An item that gives you a full limit break from the start of every battle. I then went through the legendary challenges, none of which were as bad as Rulers of the Outer Worlds. The last actual difficult legendary challenge was Bonds of Friendship, which sees Cloud and Zack team up in a 10-stage boss rush, which was difficult and again, had to use Octanoob's infinite Eroga strat, but it wasn't as bad as Rulers of the Outer World. And your final legendary challenge, in my opinion, this is your reward for all of the BS. To be a hero puts Cloud and Sephiroth together on a different 10-stage boss rush to Zack, but it is so easy because Sephiroth is comedically OP! And I can't help but feel this was done by the developers on purpose as their way of saying, look, we're sorry for the BS, now go have some fun again. And I did. This was the only legendary or brutal challenge I actually did a second time just for fun, because Sephiroth is just so fun to play as. Just look at how quickly that limit break charges up. Hell, I could solo this with him if I wanted to. The trophy pops for finishing all of the Chadley VR missions, and with that done, we have unlocked everything in Johnny's treasure trove. And it is time to tell him, get our plat and get our completion reward. So, after all is said and done, after we talk to Johnny, the platinum pops, and his mysterious chest opens up, what is our reward for all of this work? What does 145 hours of challenge get you? It's the guy who killed your girlfriend's theme music. Okay, don't get me wrong, this is kinda cool. I love the piano minigame and One Winged Angel has always been a tune. But what a slap in the face! After all that, this is what we get! Go to hell, Johnny! And while you go there, take Chadley and Mai with you. Platinuming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was one of the most difficult gaming experiences of my life, but also one of the most rewarding. I love Final Fantasy VII. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and what Remake and now Rebirth has done to it, as a fan, I truly couldn't ask for more. There's still no word on when Part 3 is going to come out, or what it's going to be called, or what it will entail. But you can bet your ass that I'm going to be there with all of you playing it on release day and going for that platinum again. So guys, that's the end of this disgustingly long video. I've always wanted to get into these platinum style videos and I couldn't think of a better one to start off with. Anyone that's actually stuck around and watched all of this insanely long video, seriously, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've been Sack. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought about Rebirth down in the comments. I'd love to talk with some of you about your thoughts and theories on it. Thanks again, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.